Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another of these brand new Mattel Jurassic World figures to take a look at. We've got another, I guess this is the Epic Evolution line, though I don't actually see the logo on here anywhere that actually says that, but it is still the same style artwork, the same type of backdrop and everything, so I'd imagine it's Epic Evolution. But you can see we've got ourselves the Mega Roar Velociraptor Blue. So this is basically one of those goofy, stylized versions of dinosaur figures that Mattel puts out from time to time, and for some reason I always buy them because I just can't help myself. But this one actually looks really cool, and I think it's probably even a little better than I expected. One thing straight away I notice on this is the fact that this lighter tone actually runs the entire way out, all the way till about here. Looks like it disappears. It is very, very few and far between that we get a Mattel figure that has that sort of paintwork on the underside. You know, that doesn't happen very often. And of course, you can see we've got painted nails and everything. But as far as the box art goes, you can see it looks pretty much like all the other Epic Evolution box art has. And then here on the back, you can see that we again have some noises. Looks like it roars as well as potentially burps. And we've also got some meat to feed our raptors. So let's pop this out of the box and check it out. So here is our Velociraptor Blue figure with its very wonky proportions, and we've also got the little steak that he has here. Again, she has here the meal for our Velociraptor Blue. I haven't turned the ankle yet. There we go. And it's quite goofy looking, but honestly pretty adorable. I actually kind of like it, even though obviously, again, in typical Mattel fashion, when it comes to their kind of stylized, more child-oriented dinosaur toys, it definitely has ridiculous proportions, making it look very baby-like, I would say, which is probably one of the appeals for the figure. And these ones usually do have that kind of baby-like look, but again, I will say it's probably one of the better Velociraptor Blues that Mattel has released when it comes to the paint apps. The only thing missing, really, that I think could have absolutely made this figure, you know, one of the best for sure, would have been the white outline of the blue stripe and then painted nails on the fingers. And honestly, it would have been an excellent Velociraptor Blue. But again, it is still kind of cool for what it is, so let's go ahead and jump to a closer look and check it out from there. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Velociraptor Blue, you can very clearly see, again, that stylized look, but very baby-like at the same time, which I quite like. You can also see that the skin texture is actually really quite impressive. It probably has some of the most vibrant detail when it comes to the scale detail on any Velociraptor figure I've seen from Mattel so far, and you can see there is a lot of variation to the scales as you move through, which is also nice to see. We can see the nostrils are sculpted out, the eye is painted with a yellow, given a nice big black pupil, and it is a very large eye. You can see the blue go up and under the eye, lead out into the palate a little bit, and then again lead back, of course, into the neck. That all looks really quite nice. We do have the light tone here for the lower jaw, and the gray for the primary body color of Velociraptor Blue, and you can see the sculpt in detail up here on the top of the head also looks quite nice. We do, of course, have an articulated jaw for the figure, which you can see looks pretty good, and we can get that mouth open really, really wide, which is pretty crazy. You can see that skin stretches pretty far. It's actually really flexible. But on the inside of the mouth, we've also got a tongue sculpted out in here. Almost looks like it would be articulated. No, I guess it's not. Oh, there we go. So I guess I didn't pay enough attention to the box. I guess we put the meat in the mouth and then it probably presses down on the tongue, which causes the eating sounds to occur. But you can see the teeth are all sculpted pretty nicely. Again, sculpted individually, and you can see the same for the teeth on the upper side. They are painted with an off-white bordering on like a light yellow, and you can see there's a little bit of detail on the inside of the mouth on the upper side, as well as a nice pinkish tone for the inside of the mouth with a nice gloss coat. And again, when you look at it from the side, that mouth opens so wide, it looks really crazy. Again, a pretty cool action feature on the part of Mattel. I like that they always come up with such creative things. As you lead down here to the underside of the neck and throat, you can see some more decent looking detailing, as well as that sort of a light kind of yellowish tone that we have occurring there. On the back of the neck, you can see again some nice looking skin texture, as well as the blue stripe leading down on both sides. Obviously very broken up, similar to the way it looks on Velociraptor Blue, kind of a little different, I would say. But as you lead down into the body a little further, you can see that the transition from the gray to that light tone of the underside is really quite smooth, so it is nicely applied. We've also got a nice, very very scrawny arm sculpt for our Velociraptor, and you can see there's a speckling on the figure as well. I do see that actually on the legs and everything, so it's not just on the arms, but I just happened to notice it at this point. But you can see we've got some nicely sculpted fingers, some scoots down the course of the fingers. The nails are nicely sculpted, and there's even a little bit of fine detail to the nails. You can see the fingers are kind of, bent in almost in like a cupping sort of a motion, and that looks pretty cool as well. And you obviously can see we have articulation in the arms, which can, move really nicely. And then as we lead back into the thigh, there is again a pretty large cluster of large scales, and obviously this wasn't sculpted out to kind of resemble Velociraptor Blue perfectly, because I don't recall Blue having that sort of thing going on, but it does look kind of cool on the figure. As you move down, you can also see the calf muscle, and then when you talk about large feet, these are about as supersized as it gets when it comes to the feet of a Mattel figure. You can see some scoots running down the toes, as well as some nice looking skin texture on the sides of the toes. The nails are again painted with a very nice dark gray, and they've got a nice satin shine to them as well. And we do have dew claws, but of course they are not painted, because that's the way it always works. When it comes to articulation, I knew that was going to happen. We do have articulated legs, but obviously that has something to do with the action feature. But we also have swivel in the ankles here as well, which is something that's pretty common with Mattel. And then you lead out into the tail. You can see it is a very nice short tail. We have the blue stripe that leads out to about here and ends. And then there's actually a little bit of articulation out here on the tip of the tail, a little swivel for absolutely no reason. And also a random area of sloppiness, which I actually didn't notice until just now. I don't even know where that would have come from, because this looks like an entirely separate piece that would have been applied in here. So where did this come from? I don't understand, because it's not like they were painting this and they were like, oh, we just slopped some on there, because this would have been, applied separately. But whatever, again, it, looks okay as far as the paintwork minus that little area of sloppiness. I guess they could have, grabbed it from up here and then slopped it. It's just that's a pretty far ways to go to get back to that point. But again, it is nice to see this lighter tone actually run so far out. And of course, once we turn Velociraptor Blue around, you can see they've done a good job of paying attention to the way the blue stripe works, as it doesn't kind of lead up and over the eye and everything exactly as it does look on Velociraptor Blue. But everything outside of that is going to pretty much look the same as you move through the course of the figure. And then we also have the meat, but that's not really anything to write home about. However, you can see there is actually some okay looking detail to it. It actually has some nice looking texturing that kind of gives it that sort of realistic look to it. And there's also this sort of like white outline that moves through. Just a fun little accessory that again we're going to feed to our Velociraptor Blue. So I have discovered that there is articulation on this leg. You can move it back pretty far. You've got some nice articulation there, a little jerky, but it works fairly decent. But the action feature actually has to do with this leg over here. So if we kind of lean Velociraptor Blue back, we're going to hear some pretty crazy noises, and the mouth will open, I believe. So that's actually really cool. I like the fact that when you kind of pull the leg back, the higher the mouth goes open, the kind of louder and longer the roar goes for. In case you noticed, it didn't just like make a noise and end. The noise actually kind of coincides with the movement of the leg. So let's go ahead and do that again. That's actually really neat. I did not see that coming. That's a little unexpected, and it's actually a really cool action feature. And then, of course, we could take the meat and put it on the inside of the mouth. And then Velociraptor Blue continues to eat that meat. Oh, and then it burped. It's actually pretty funny. I definitely think this figure is actually a whole lot cooler than I was expecting it to be. As far as a size goes, for a length, you're not going to get too much because it is kind of short, about 7.5 inches. Maybe if you actually, keeps trying to walk away, if you actually go to the snout up here at the very top, the longest point, I would say maybe about 8 inches or around 20.5 centimeters. And then for a height, a little under 7.25 inches or just a hair over 18 centimeters. For a size comparison, There is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day Human Being next to our Velociraptor Blue here to kind of give you an idea of the size. It obviously does sport a pretty nice, pretty impressive size, but it's not absolutely gigantic. You know, definitely a little bit on the large side when it comes to this type of figure, but not huge. For another size comparison, we have your standard Mattel Velociraptor, which you can very clearly see is, again, quite a bit smaller. And I don't think we need too many comparisons this time around, but for one final comparison, here is the Fierce Launchin, I think it was called, Dilophosaurus, which was another recent release from Mattel in this same similar sort of goofy style. So if you happen to have that Dilophosaurus, this should help to give you a pretty good idea, I think, of the size of this Velociraptor Blue. So this brand new Mega Roar Velociraptor Blue figure from Mattel for the Jurassic World, I guess, Epic Evolution line, is actually a really fun figure. And honestly, I would say it's probably one of the most fun figures in this type of release that we've had from Mattel so far. Like, it is just really, really neat. I love the action feature. I love the fact that you can, you know, extend the leg, and that causes the action feature to continue as well as the noise to continue for as long as you choose, and then it kind of reacts to you letting it go, and that's when the noise would end. That's a really neat, you know, playability aspect to this figure. I also like the fact that you can kind of put the steak in the mouth and it makes the chewing noise, and then once you let that go, it burps, which is also a really nice little touch. So when it comes to something that kids will enjoy, they will absolutely eat this up just based on those action features and sounds alone. But on top of that, you do have a pretty fun sculpt for the Velociraptor. It has some really nice, really crisp and vibrant detail. It also has some pretty darn nice paint apps, which is nice to see. Again, paint from head to tail, as well as painted nails outside of the fingers and the dew claw, of course. But the paintwork is really nice and precisely done. Like, there's no sloppiness that I can see anywhere. And you've got a little bit of articulation with the left leg, the arms, of course both legs, but one of the legs is, you know, attached to the action feature. So it does articulate, but it's, you know, inevitably going to cause the dinosaur to roar. And then you also have the articulated jaw as well, which can extend really far. And then on top of that, again, the meat that you can use to feed the Velociraptor is also pretty fun. So overall, this is definitely an awesome figure, and like I said, in my opinion, I would say one of, if not the best overall when it comes to this style of goofy sort of baby dinosaur from Mattel. So if you are interested in picking this up for yourself, I will include a link in the description to exactly where you can purchase this on Amazon.com. So make sure you check that link, go grab this very cool Velociraptor Blue, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.